There are so many questions for the Warriors moving forward. Bob Myers' contract is up. Does Draymond Green return? He has a player option. Does Jordan Poole get traded after a really ugly playoff showing? Is Klay Thompson cooked because throughout this series he was awful outside of Game 2 in which he knocked down those 8 threes? Steph Curry is 35 years old. He needs a lot of help. Do the Warriors decide to trade some of their young players, Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, who didn't play outside of garbage time? Do they trade away Andrew Wiggins, who they just re-signed to that contract extension last offseason, to try to get Curry some win-now help to capitalize on this window right now? Because at 35 years old, you can't expect him to do what he did in that first round, where in Game 7 he had to take 28 shots, he had to drop 50 points, and in this series, I thought he wore down a little bit because of the Lakers' perimeter defense. Now, in this game, 32 points, but 11 of 28 shots, 4 of 14 from deep. That is just not sustainable. Also, what is the future of Steve Kerr? This is the first time that Steve Kerr has lost to a team in the Western Conference playoffs, because every year they've been in the playoffs, they made it to the NBA Finals, but he's had some health issues, and he's getting a little bit older. Is this the end of the dynasty or what? It's a fascinating conversation to have, and with the Warriors offseason officially underway, that talking point only beginning right now.
Yeah, and when I look at Steph Curry's game today, I think this might be the most empty 32 points Steph Curry's probably ever had.
Yeah.
You think Curry had 32, 6, and 5, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty good game. But when you shoot 11 of 28 from the field and 4 of 14 from 3, that is just inefficient as hell. And
Yeah.
Steph Curry is one of the most efficient basketball players we have ever seen. Chase, I need to pull up Steph Curry's three-point shooting numbers in this series.
I got you.
To be honest with you, I think he shot sub 34% from 3 in this series.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Lakers' length, disrupting Curry, getting his jump shots, clean looks. I mean, I've never seen him shoot this bad in a playoff series in my entire life. I'm a little on the young side, but I still don't think I've ever seen him shoot this bad.
So I got you. Game 1, Steph, 27 points, 6 of 13 from 3. That's 46%. In Game 2, 20 points, 3 of 5 from 3. That was 60%. In Game 3, 23 points, 4 of 10. That's 40%. But then he went after that, 3 of 14, 21.5%. 3 of 11 in Game 5, 27.3. And then tonight, 28.6. So there's a couple of reasons for that, I think. Him getting worn down, 35 years old, the offense solely going through him. He never got any help from Klay Thompson outside of Game 2, but it's also the Lakers' defense that you have to give credit toward as well. And with Steph, no help from Klay Thompson outside of that Game 2, as we said. He was really, really bad in this playoff series. And everybody's thinking, Game 6, is Klay going to turn back the clock? Is he going to have that performance from 2016 when he popped those 11 threes for more than 40 points, which allowed the Warriors to come back from 3-1 against OKC? They forced a Game 7. They won that Game 7, won another championship. The thing about Klay is that this year, he was better than he was last year, because he finally had an offseason in which he could recover without having to go through rehab with the ACL and the Achilles injuries. But you do have to start having the conversation with Klay having just turned 33 years old. What is his future? How good can he be? And can he continue to be the co-star?
Listen, Klay's had an incredible career and is one of the best shooting guards of all time and one of the best three-point shooters or just plain out shooters in the history of basketball. Now, this performance was abysmal.
Yeah.
It was flat out embarrassing,
It's
if
bad.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Couldn't come out, elimination game on the road. You've been dubbed Game 6 Klay, which means everyone expects you to go put on for Golden State, be Steph's co-star, his wingman, and help deliver a road victory that you've done so often in your career at Golden State, and come back to the Chase Center for Game 7. 3 of 19 from the field, 2 of 12 from 3, 8 points. He didn't defend well at all either. This was a abysmal performance by Klay Thompson. And if I'm going to be quite frank with you, I'm kind of confident I could go out there and on those same shots, give you the same amount of production on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Could I defend like Klay? Absolutely not. But if you give me those shot attempts by Klay Thompson, I think I could give you 8 points. I really do. I think he took about 6 or 7 threes in this game that were butt naked, wide open off offensive rebounds or screens.
Yeah.
This was one of the worst performances I have ever seen in a playoff game from any notable star in NBA history. He went flat out no-show. And it was, I said embarrassing already, but that is the number one word that comes to mind, because you cannot have a nickname called Game 6 Klay, be one of the best shooting guards of all time, and then come out and lay an egg like this in the biggest moment.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Klay Thompson is a Hall of Famer. Klay Thompson has 4 rings. He'll let the Memphis Grizzlies know every time he can that he has those 4 rings. The Warriors have won 4 of the last 8 NBA championships. This run has been incredible. But when you're getting paid this much money, and when you're looking for a contract extension, and when you have a massive business decision to make, if you're Joe Lacob and hopefully Bob Myers, because if Bob Myers leaves this organization, that could signal the downfall of it. You got to show up. You got to play better. And for Klay in this series, 9 of 25 in Game 1, 11 of 18 in Game 2, when he had the 30 points, 5 of 14 in Game 3, 3 of 11 in Game 4, 3 of 12 in Game 5, 3 of 19. That's paltry here in Game 6. You need to show up in a big spot. He wasn't able to do it. As for Andrew Wiggins, I'm interested to see what his future is. Obviously with him, he came back from the personal issues because his father had fallen ill. And tonight, a lot of people in the comment section are ripping him. Dude's playing with the cracked rib. And you could tell, though, that LeBron, first drive of the game, Andrew Wiggins was guarding LeBron, backed him down with physicality. And he knew that he was going to go right at his neck. As for Draymond Green, I wonder what Draymond's future is. I legitimately wonder what Draymond Green's future is with this organization. After Poole got paid and Wiggins got that extension, I thought it signaled the end for Draymond. And then there was some chatter that given his significance and importance to this team, he was going to maybe sign a long-term deal. He has a player option. He can opt in for 1 year. He can opt out, sign with another team. It rubbed me the wrong way at the buzzer when you lose by 21. I know that you're homies with LeBron. Daps him up. He's smiling, though, after a loss like this. You're trying to defend your NBA championship, and you label yourself as that dog, that cutthroat competitor. Draymond, not a good look for him, in my opinion.
And I completely agree with you. And if you were here for my little rant after the game right away, I said that I am such a competitive person, and maybe it's actually to my own fault that I am this competitive, because if that were me in this situation, and I get that everyone does it, every time a series ends, even though there's a lot of back and forth when the games are played,
I'd be pissed
off
personally.
the court,
yeah.
I know everyone shows love, daps you up. It's NBA brotherhood. So everyone daps each other up and shows love after a series, no matter if you win or lose.
Yeah.
Me, I don't know if I'm different. Maybe if I was in the NBA, I'd feel a different way. But I would be so upset that I lost this series in the playoffs. My season's done. I'm heading to Cancun. I just couldn't stomach even sitting there handshaking the opponent. Now, maybe that's bad sportsmanship. But that's just me. And for him to go, Draymond, not him, goes to that stretch of dapping him up, hugging him for 5 minutes. Not actually, but it felt like 5 minutes.
An extended hug,
yeah.
for sure.
And then smiles and laughs after the fact. Where is that competitive man? Draymond went from he is one of the most unlikable guys in the NBA. I actually personally like Draymond usually because I like that competitive fire, the shit talking he does on the court, and I respect the way he plays the game. But I don't know where that man went. 2014, 15, 16, Draymond would have never done what he did. And I know he said he's aged and matured and become friends with more people rather than just hating everyone because of how competitive he was. But that's what I thought made Draymond great. And now he's buddies with everyone besides Dillon Brooks and the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah. Man. I'm just fascinated to see what happens with this Warriors core, what happens with this Warriors dynasty. Fascinating conversation to have. And speaking of that,
We need to talk about him.
What happens with Jordan Poole? I feel like you just want to go off on JP3. He was terrible. His first half line, 12 minutes, 0 points, 4 fouls.
Whew.
And that halftime buzzer beater from Austin Reeves, Jordan Poole didn't even put his hand up on that shot. I mean, that's an embarrassing effort. I know that you have 4 fouls, but that could have been the momentum changer of the game. 7-point lead for the Lakers turns into a 10-point lead. Crypto.com arena, they went crazy. And Jordan Poole, he was good last year. He was great last year. Let me say that. He was really good throughout that playoff run, an important figure of that team that won an NBA championship. Without Steph Curry this year, the Warriors had to lean on him to score. Without Steph, he averaged about 24 points per game. Not a willing defender, a bad defender as well, and a complete no-show throughout the entire playoffs.
And here's my thing with a player like Jordan Poole, who is known for an offensive bucket getter off the bench. He got $100 million. How much did he get exactly? Was it 100 or more than 100?
More than 100 mil,
so
yeah.
he got $100+ million dollar extension from the Warriors, and he's known as the bucket getter off the bench that will give you 18+ a night. Be the spark plug, be the igniter off the bench, be that 6th man of the year type player.
4 years, 128.
4 years, 128. So there's the numbers. Well, when you come off the bench and you stink it up offensively, and he never really, the best game he had was game 1, but everyone scrutinized him because he took a stupid 38-footer down 3 with 8 seconds left. So Jordan Poole even made a bonehead decision in game 1, and for the rest of the series, he was god-awful. And the question is, what do you do with a player like this? Because he's supposed to be the guy who gives you buckets off the bench. I've mentioned that a couple times, but he's not a good defender. So when you can't play defense, you can't defend a soul, and you're only an offensive bucket getter off the bench, a la Jordan Clarkson, but you can't score, that's going to cause serious problems, and it makes you borderline unplayable. I compared him earlier in the series to Tyler Hero on the Miami Heat. Both guys who started their careers off the bench. Hero now starts when healthy, but they are guys who give you 18, 20 a game every night. They don't play that good a defense, but they will provide an isolation offensive spark plug for their respective teams. Jordan Poole did not do that this entire playoffs, this entire series, and when you don't defend and you don't provide offense off the bench like you're supposed to, you're wasting $32 million a year on Jordan Poole, and I do wonder, and I actually do expect if the Warriors and Bob Myers, well, I guess he's contract's up too, so whoever the GM of the Warriors is, if they want to continue this run with Steph Curry, I think Jordan Poole has to go because they can't play together because they both can't defend and they both have the same style of offense of game. Obviously, Steph Curry's on a different level, but they both don't defend. And when your starting backcourt can get just picked apart, and like we saw in the series against the Lakers, you can't win in the big moments.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like Jordan Poole's NBA career is done. The guy's 23 years old. Last year, he had some massive flashes. He's had a pretty awesome story. Late first-round pick out of Michigan. He's in the G League for a while. 2 years ago, he starts to flash. Last year, played awesome. This year, up and down, certainly. It all started with that fight with Draymond when he got socked in the face after he got that contract extension. But at 23 years old, Roll, you make a good point. Like when him and Steph especially are on the floor together, teams hunt both those guys because they both can't defend. And he has cap hits over the next 4 years, 28.7, 30.9, 30, 35.2 for a team that's already deep in the luxury tax, that already has some really difficult decisions to make. So that's part of the future questions for Jordan Poole. Some people are in the chat right now saying the Warriors should trade him away and sign Dillon Brooks.
Oh,
stop it.
Oh,
just please stop it.
Oh. That would be the worst decision of all time. I get that you can look at this series and say we need defense, but if you think Dillon Brooks is the answer, I'm sorry, I'll just flat out say it. You do not know ball.
And that's it.
Sign Dillon Brooks. Holy shit. That's unbelievable.
Fascinating offseason coming up for the Warriors, no doubt about it.
Biggest offseason franchise history?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could phrase it in that way just because of the decisions that have to be made and, like, the looming questions that there are.
Because what do you do with Klay? I mean,
because they can still compete in the West. Let's be real.
I agree, but, like, Klay Thompson was bad in these playoffs. He's getting older in age. Those Achilles and ACL injury will continue to affect him athletic-wise down the stretch.
Yeah.
He's also not. He's already a guy who doesn't rely on athleticism. So when you have athleticism taken away from you, you're going to struggle. My question is, does he have the legs on his shooting to continue as we go? Man, ESPN's flashing the contracts. My goodness, is this brutal.
Yeah, Steph 3 years left, 167. Poole 4 years, 128. Wiggins 4 for 109. Klay Thompson 1 year, 43. Draymond 1 for 28. I don't know how you extend Klay or Draymond.
Well,
maybe Draymond, but not. You can't extend Klay.
I do wonder about Draymond because that 1 year, $28 million is a player option. Does Draymond think he could get more than $28 million on the open market? Maybe he tests the waters, but I don't think any team will give him 28. The only team that values him at $28 million is the Warriors because they know what he brings defensively and how well he plays with Steph and Klay and his chemistry with Steph. That's the only reason why he's worth $28 million on the Warriors.
Yeah.
You put him in a vacuum, I think he's an $18, $20 million player.
Yeah, man.
So I think he opts in. I know a lot of people are wondering where Draymond goes this offseason. And, will he join LeBron, his new best friend, or will he join the Mavs? I know that's a big rumor out there as well because they need someone defensively to help Luka and set screens for him. But like I said, if he wants to win, maybe he looks elsewhere. But if he wants to keep his money and family in Golden State, I don't think he's opting out of that $28 million.
No. Plus, do they just say, look, Klay, 1 more year, Draymond opt in. Maybe we make a trade of a Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. Let's retinker this roster a little bit. Again, what comes down to it, what happens with Bob Myers, but maybe the thought process is, look, let's reshape the roster, let's retinker it a little bit, and with that, let's make one more run. Because LeBron's going to be 39 next year. AD's always hurt. You could probably beat the Nuggets in a series because the styles contrast. Outside of that, are you really worried about any team? You beat the Kings in the first round already. So if you bulk up the roster a little bit, maybe the Warriors can make a little bit of a run here.
I would actually think that is what their line of thought is going to be. I could see them taking the Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, one last dance approach, and where they just say, listen, 1 year left for Dre, 1 year left for Klay. Trade Poole. Maybe you can package Poole, Wiggins, and picks for a really big-time, impactful fourth guy. I know that might hurt your depth a little bit, but if you use offseason and free agency to sign better depth pieces, get a real backup big behind Kevon Looney, and then use Poole and Wiggins and picks to trade for a massive, impactful fourth guy. And realistically, you can use Wiggins, Poole, and picks to potentially get a number 2 option.
This is true.
Because those are good assets. I know we just shat on Poole and Wiggins a little bit, but Wiggins has got that injury in rib. He's a really good defender. He's a former number 1 overall pick who can average 17 to 20 a game, and you got Poole who can average 20 a game on the right team. And then you add in picks. You could actually get a legit player to be that number 2 guy next to Steph maybe. Let Klay go to a number 3, and maybe he gets more open looks. I think it's a hypothetical you will have to explore if you're Golden State, and I think that might be the most logical thinking if you want to put another run there. Use your assets, cash in now, because once Steph and Klay and Dre are done, do you really think Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins are going to be the 2 guys to help lead you in the playoffs? I don't think so. So cash them in now.
Yeah. Going to be really interesting to see what the Warriors do in this offseason. We'll open it up for Super Chats before we hop on out of here. Rolly, Chase, down to hang out. Dubs go down 122-101 to the Lakers here. Game 6, Western Conference semifinals.